No, everyone.
Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Kushner, not present. Osborne,
Here.
Latari. Here. Jones,
Here.
Euler.
Here. Approval of city council minutes, motion to approve regular meeting minutes dated April 28th, 2025.
Motion to approve the minutes as presented?
Osborne,
Yes.
Latari.
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Euler.
Yes.
Thank
Item 4, adoption of agenda.
I move to adopt the agenda as presented.
Osborne,
Yes.
Latari.
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Euler.
Yes.
Thank you.
We have a couple of proclamations tonight. Very glad to be able to do this evening. And our first one is proclamation for National Police Week. I feel very safe up here tonight. I feel small too. National Police Week, May 11th through 17th, 2025. Proclamation. Whereas National Police Week is the week of May 11th through the 17th, 2025. And whereas May 15th has been declared as Peace Officers Memorial Day, and by presidential order, flags are to be flown at half staff on this day. And whereas 2 Warrensburg police officers, City Marshal James Ryan and Officer James Basham, were killed in the line of duty by being shot by a single assailant on April 19th, 1908. And whereas in 2022, 66,415 police officers were assaulted. 22,063 were injured due to those assaults, and 61 peace officers were killed in the line of duty in the United States. In 2023, 60 peace officers, and in 2024, 64 peace officers were killed in the line of duty. From 2022 to 2024, 135 officers lost their lives while on duty due to accidental circumstances. And whereas peace officers in Warrensburg and our surrounding community bravely serve the public and unselfishly risk life and serious bodily injury. Now therefore be it resolved, I, Mayor Bruce D. Euler, Mayor of the City of Warrensburg, Missouri, do hereby commend our peace officers recognize their service to our community, and hereby proclaim the week of May 11th through the 17th, 2025 as National Police Week, and May 15th as Police Officers Memorial Day in Warrensburg, Missouri, dated this 12th day of May, 2025. I was gonna take a picture. We'll let the chief get it. Thanks. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for coming.
Oh, I'll just stay.
Mine as well.
Might
Mhm,
as well stay here.
mhm. Thank you.
National Public Works Week proclamation.
Dave, you got your picture taken shirt on.
They don't like the limelight as much as the police officers do.
Yeah.
All right, National Public Works Week proclamation, May 18th, 2025. Connecting the world through public works. Whereas public works professionals focus on infrastructure, facilities, and services that are of vital importance to sustainable and resilient communities and to the public health, high quality of life, and well-being of the people of the city of Warrensburg. And whereas these infrastructure, facility, and services could not be provided without the dedicated efforts of public works professionals who are engineers, managers, and employees at all levels of government and the private sector, who are responsible for rebuilding, improving, and protecting our nation's transportation, water supply, water treatment, and solid waste systems, public buildings, and other structures and facilities essential for our citizens. And whereas it is in the public interest for the citizens, civic leaders, and children in the city of Warrensburg to gain knowledge of and to maintain an ongoing interest and understanding of the importance of public works and public works programs in their respective communities. And whereas the year 2025 marks the 65th annual National Public Works Week sponsored by the American Public Works Association. Be it now resolved, I, Bruce D. Euler, Mayor of Warrensburg, Missouri, along with City Council, do hereby designate the week May 18th through 2025 as National Public Works Week. I urge all citizens to join with representatives of the American Public Works Association and government agencies in activities, events, and ceremonies designed to pay tribute to our public works professionals, engineers, managers, and employees, and to recognize the substantial contributions they make protecting our national health, safety, and quality of life, dated this 12th day of May, 2025. Thank
Thank you, guys.
All right, one more. Asian and Pacific Islander Heritage Month. Yes, how are you? Good to see you. Asian and Pacific Islander Heritage Month, May 2025. Whereas Asian and Pacific Islander API Heritage Month is an annual celebration that recognizes the historical and cultural contributions of individuals and groups of Asian and Pacific Islander descent to the United States. The API umbrella term includes cultures from the entire Asian continent, including East, Southeast, South Asia, and the Pacific Islands of Melanesia, Micronesia, and Polynesia. And whereas the American story, as we know, would be impossible without the strength, contributions, and legacies of APIs, who have helped build and unite this country in each successive generation. From laying railroad tracks, tilling fields, and starting businesses, to caring for our loved ones, and honorably serving our nation in uniform, API communities are deeply rooted in the history of the United States. And whereas Asian and Pacific Islanders make our nation more vibrant through diverse cultures, languages, and religions, there is no single story of the API experience, but rather a diversity of contributions that enrich our culture and communities. And whereas the United States officially designated the month of May as Asian Pacific American Heritage Month in 1992, and the state of Missouri formally recognized the month of May as API Heritage Month in 2023. And whereas the city of Warrensburg is proud to honor the history and contributions of API people in our community and throughout our state and our nation. Now therefore, I, Bruce D. Euler, Mayor, along with the City Council of the City of Warrensburg, Missouri, do hereby proclaim the month of May 2025 as Asian and Pacific Islander Heritage Month. Item 6.1, presentation of the fiscal year 2024 audit report presented by John Cummings, CPA of KPM CPAs and Advisors. John, I hope you had a good trip driving up here today.
Well, thank you for having me.
Sure.
Point of clarification, John Cummings couldn't be here
Right.
today. He is our head of our department, our governmental auditing department. He couldn't come, something with his family came up. But my name is Wayland Mueller. I'm a manager with KPM CPAs. And I was lucky enough to come out here and work on the audit too. So, and I like to think I'm the second best thing after John. So, and John was also nice enough. He prepared, in addition to the bound audit report that you have in front of you, and there's 2 letters, there's also a stapled few sheets. John prepared this excerpts from the financial statements, and that's what I'll be going over instead of going over the bound report and having you flip through a bunch of pages. We prepared these excerpts for you. So what I will be going over, you can flip over to the second page, or I guess the first page with any words on it, of that stapled sheet. And I'll be going over the independent auditors report, which is this first page here. I'll hit some of the highlights from the financial statements. I'll go over our recommendations, and then I'll also go over another additional letter that you have at your desk there. So first of all, the independent auditors report. This is probably the most important part of the presentation tonight. So if you just remember one thing, remember this, that second paragraph down, this is where we issue our opinion on the financial statements. And so I'll just read the first part of it to you. In our opinion, the financial statements referred to above present fairly in all material respects, the respective financial position of the governmental activities, the business type activities, the discretely presented component unit, each major fund, and the aggregate remaining fund information of the city of Warrensburg, Missouri, as of September 30th, 2024. So what this says is this is an unmodified opinion, which is also known as a clean opinion, and it's really the best opinion that you can get on your financial statements. So that's the key point tonight. A couple of other things to point out on this sheet here. The basis for our opinions, when we do the audit, we follow 2 sets of auditing standards. One is the auditing standard that any audit must follow, and that's these are issued by the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants. But then because of the federal money you get and the debt that has been issued, we also must follow government auditing standards that are issued by the Comptroller General of the United States. As far as the responsibilities of management, it is management's responsibility for the preparation and fair presentation of the financial statements in accordance with accounting principles generally accepted in the United States of America. So I'll have you flip to the next page. This is where I'll go over some of the highlights from the financial statements for the year ending September 30th, 2024. The page you're looking at, and I will point out, you'll see there's a page number at the bottom, page 24. So that corresponds with the bound report that you have, if you want to look at this later. But what this page is, this is for your governmental funds, so everything other than the utility fund and the internal service fund. And this is like an income statement, but it has a fancy title for governmental accounting. It is the statement of revenues, expenditures, and changes in fund balances. So this first page shows your revenues and expenditures for your governmental funds. I'll just highlight a couple interesting numbers just because they may have changed a little bit from the prior year. I'll focus first on that top line, taxes. It's always interesting to know the tax revenue that came in. In total, if you look to the far right column, a total of $18,279,310 in tax revenue came in 2024. And this is an increase of a little over $1 million. Most of that increase was in the general fund. That saw an increase of about $670,000. And most of that increase was in the sales and use tax area. The other area in revenues I'd like to point out is in the American Rescue Plan Act Fund. So this is that ARPA grant money. And you'll see intergovernmental revenues. That's just another way of referring to grants. And you can see that a little over $1 million in that grant revenue was recognized in this last fiscal year. As far as the expenditures go, in total expenditures were up about 1.1 million. But the good news is, as I just mentioned, the revenues were up 1.997 million. So revenues exceeded expenditures there. And just one area to point out that saw the biggest increase, and that was in public safety and health. So that's a lot of areas right there. That's the fire, police, animal control, emergency management. So it's a big component of the city's operations. That saw an increase of about $625,000. I'll have you flip to the next page. This is a continuation of the same financial statement. And I'll just draw your attention to 3 lines from the bottom. This is the net result. So basically like the net income. So after everything is considered, all of the revenues, expenditures, and any kind of fund transfers, this is where those funds ended up. So you can see the general fund saw an increase of $2,171,636. And you can see most of the funds there had increases. The park fund did have a decrease in fund balance of $261,789, and that was due mostly to the increase in capital outlay there. And then the capital improvement bond fund, that saw a decrease of 2.2 million, which is also to be expected as those bond proceeds are spent on projects. You would expect that fund balance to go down over time. And then just in total, I want to point out again, the far right column, total governmental funds. This shows the net increase of all of those funds together was almost 1.3 million. One other thing just to point out, in the general fund, of that ending fund balance of 11,205,000, it's always good to know how much of that is unrestricted, so it's not already restricted for some purpose. And that total is 8,487,000 of unrestricted cash and investments in that fund. Have you turn to the next page? This is where we will start going over the proprietary funds. We'll focus on the sewer fund. So again, this is like an income statement. It is the statement of revenues, expenses, and changes in net position. The total operating revenues for the sewer fund did show an increase from the prior year. You'll see a total operating revenues of about 6.1 million. That's an increase of about 285,000. As far as total operating expenses, good news there is total operating expenses were actually down about 250,000. And most of that decrease, most areas were down a little bit, but the biggest area that saw a decrease was the utilities, mostly in the electric utility. That expense was down the most. So you can see the operating income was a good number this year. It was $2,657,065. And then again, 3 lines from the bottom, this is after everything is considered, after the interest income, interest expense, transfers, that kind of thing. The net income for this fund was almost 2 million. It was $1,992,117 for an ending net position of 21.6 million. Next, I'll have you skip to the next page, and this is our schedule of findings and responses. There are 2 findings this year, 2 material weaknesses that we point out, and this is part of the work that we do. When I said we have 2 sets of auditing standards that we follow, this is part of the work that results from that second set, the government auditing standards. And the first is segregation of duties. This is a very common finding that we have with our clients. But I do want to point out that this is one that we think the city could and probably is taking steps to alleviate. And we do see that there's a possibility for this finding to go away in future audits. A lot of times this can happen when there is turnover in key positions in financial and accounting roles, where sometimes duties have to get blurred and shared that normally were separated. So that's really all there is to say on that one. On the second one, this also had to do a lot with turnover in key positions in the accounting area for the city. During our work, we noticed the bank account reconciliation process wasn't completed in a timely manner during the year that ended in September 2024. But I will draw your attention to the last line at the bottom of the response, and the city has taken steps moving forward to address this and make sure that bank reconciliations are done timely going forward. And so I would expect in future audits that this finding would go away as well, assuming that there's stability in those finance roles and those processes are completed timely. So next I'll go over the recommendation letter. So that's not in your bound report. It's a separate letter, but it is in the stapled excerpts provided to you. So we do also provide recommendations, just different things that we notice that we think could help out the city going forward. So the first one is new accounting pronouncements. It seems like the Governmental Accounting Standards Board is continually coming out with new standards, and these standards affect the accounting that the city must do. And there's 2 that are coming up. One that will be effective for the audit this coming year. So for the fiscal year that you're in right now, actually both of them are. The first one is compensated absences. So this has to do with vacation leave, sick leave, that kind of thing. And just to let you know, this will probably result in an increase in the liability that is booked for these types of compensated absences leave, because the standard expanded the definition of what is included in this liability. And it also, one of the ways it expanded it is the liability is calculated on salaries and salary related payments. So things like FICA and things like that. And then the second is a standard related to certain risk disclosures related to concentrations and constraints in revenues and expenditures. So this will just result in an additional footnote disclosure to the financial statements. It won't result in anything in the face of the financial statements or that is booked in the accounting records, but it'll just be another disclosure that is included. The next page has our second recommendation. Cybersecurity, this is something that we have a recommendation for all of our clients, and specifically cybersecurity as it relates to your relationship with your bank and vendor payments that are made through electronic means. So those bullet points that we have listed there, those are just some things for the city to think about whenever there's an instance where a vendor is paid through ACH or wire transfer or any other kind of electronic payment. So we do like to just point those out to our clients just to keep in mind, because we would hate for a situation to arise where a payment goes out and it doesn't go to who the city thought it was going to. It's very hard to get that money back. The third recommendation, federal program compliance. We recommend this to a lot of our larger clients that receive sizable federal grants. And here we're just encouraging the city to make sure to review the requirements of the uniform grant guidance, make sure the accounting staff and those working with the grants are familiar with those requirements, and to encourage them to seek out training that is provided just to make sure the city has the appropriate policies and procedures and practices to ensure compliance with the grants. So that was it for the stapled handout I gave you. But at your desk, and there is another letter that I'd like to go over. And it's what we call the governance letter. And it is the one that has in bold significant audit matters, just about a third of the way down. And what this letter is, that this is a set of required topics that we are required as the auditors to communicate to the governing body. So these are topics that we are required to tell the city council about. There's only a couple spots that I want to draw your attention to, but I encourage you to read all of it. At the bottom of the first page, in italics, it says, difficulties encountered in performing the audit. I am pleased to report, right in that first sentence there, that we encountered no significant difficulties in dealing with management. But again, we do point out that there was the issue with the cash and investment activity and the reconciliations going on during the year. But other than that, pleased to report no difficulties dealing with management. And then on the second page, the second area, a little bit similar to the first comment there. In italics, it says disagreements with management. I'm also pleased to say that for this purpose here, a disagreement with management is a financial accounting, reporting, or auditing matter. And we're pleased to say that we had no such disagreements with management during the course of this audit. So with that, I will be happy to answer your questions. But before I do that, I do want to make sure I thank the city staff for all of their hard work. When we come out to do the audit, we ask a lot of questions. We ask for a lot of documents. And so it's a lot of work for us, but we know it's a lot of work for them. So I want to make sure to express our thanks.
It goes both ways. Your assistance to make reconciliations and resolving the issue from 18 months ago that kind of held everything up was greatly appreciated.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Any questions?
The only question I had was the $1.6 million in depreciation on the for the, this is for the proprietary funds.
Yes. Yes. Has no, there's no cash outflow for that.
Right.
So just to go over that has no cash impact. It has no impact on your day-to-day operations. But what that number is, that reflects the depreciation on the annual depreciation on the assets held in the sewer fund. So it's going to be a big number every year because of everything that goes into the infrastructure. And it is kind of a good reflection if you look at it over time as to how much money needs to be reinvested in equipment, infrastructure, that kind of thing. But it has no cash impact.
So it's just is there to better reflect the actual cost of doing business so that when it's time to look at rates, it's included.
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. That's a good way to look at it. Yep.
Right, thank you.
It largely corresponds with our debt payment for the things that we have financed, capital improvements. So when we look at our principal and interest payments, then they transition those to depreciation.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, Waylon, I just have a quick question under the new accounting pronouncements where it says certain risk disclosures. It seems pretty open where they say requires governments to disclose information about certain risks they face due to concentrations and constraints. We always face risks, so how do you know one from the other? I'm curious.
Yeah, there is like a very there is specific guidance for this of what gets included and what doesn't. What this standard is after, and the good news is we have a lot, well, not a lot, but some time for more guidance to come out and more interpretations of how to implement this. But what they're after are things like significant revenues. It's like significant revenue sources to the city that could be a constraint. Or a concentration. So like if like, say like one fund is, their operations are completely funded by sales tax or whatever, that might be something that would get disclosed. But if there's like a fund that has like a good mix of revenue coming in from a lot of different sources, then maybe there wouldn't be a disclosure related to concentrations for that fund. But if there's a fund that relies solely on one source of revenue, that would be one example of something that could require a disclosure.
And you keep us up to date, I guess, on how these implement or.
Oh,
what
yeah,
standards.
yeah,
Okay.
we'll have conversations as we go with that.
All right.
And yeah, it'll be something where we'll have to talk with the management of the city to figure out and identify what falls in these categories. Because it is a brand new standard. And so
Yeah, it seems kind of open for interpretation at this point.
it is,
Yeah.
but there is some guidance out there, and we'll go over it together to figure out what belongs and what doesn't.
Thanks, Waylon. Nope. Appreciate it. Thank you.
for your time.
Thank you.
Item 6.2, presentation of Lions Lake project presented by Phil Adlich, interim public works director. Hello, Phil.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. I actually have engineering surveys and services, DSS, here to present this and made a nice PowerPoint. We're gonna come up and take it away.
We love pictures and PowerPoint.
Right.
Yeah.
They did a good job, so. This is where you insert the joke about following the auditor. I will have colorful pictures, hopefully. Thank you. My name is Ben Ross. I'm a professional engineer. My company is called Engineering Surveys and Services. We have offices in Sedalia, Columbia, and Jefferson City. We've been in business for 70 years. I'm joined today by Kelly Losant, is our Sedalia office manager, and Sarah Thompson is one of the engineers who's helped work on this project. So we worked with the Public Works and the Parks Department on Lions Lake improvements. The pictures you see on the bottom left are the sediment buildup near the northeast corner of the lake. That sediment was not there 15 years ago, the last time you dredged the lake. Dredging lakes is normal maintenance that you do on lakes to keep them healthy. But the sediment is built up over time. And then the bottom right picture shows the wooden bridge. We're going to do some improvements to the bridge, as well as remove that sediment. You're standing on the shore looking across the inflow channel, and then the grass on the far side should not be there. That's sediment that's built up over time. Our company was partnering with Hutchinson Engineering. They did the structural design for us. And then Geosyntec is a company out of Jefferson City, and they have scientists who evaluated the sediment in the lake and did some other recommendations on how much sediment to remove and where the sediment should be removed from. But let's go on to the next picture. I don't know if this is on or not. You go to the next slide, please. Yeah. It's not on. It's not on. It's not on. There you go. I feel it. There you go. Second picture. So this is an aerial photo of your lake. The northeast side has a larger watershed, 276 or 278 acres flow in from the northeast side. The lake was previously dredged in 2011, and our current project includes analyzing the sediment to make sure it's safe to land apply. Dredging plan, we're going to upgrade the wooden footbridge at the northeast side of the lake. We're going to design a new floating walkway to provide pedestrian access across the south side of the lake. We did have to do some floodplain modeling to meet some city requirements, as well as a Corps of Engineers permit. And then just an overall sediment storage plan. And I'll talk about each of those points here as we go on to the next picture. So the big portions of the work is going to be removing the sediment at the northeast side of the lake. We have two sediment forebays there, which I've got some close-up pictures to show. Removing sediment from the south east side of the lake and building a sediment forebay there. The proposed floating walkway, which is about 332 feet long across the south side of the lake. Upgrading the trails to meet ADA accessibility. And then on the west side of the existing dam, that green area is where the sediment removed from the lake will be stored in a stockpile. So here's a close-up view of the northeast side of the lake, and you can see in the aerial photo the sediment that's built up. So all that sediment will be removed, and then the existing footbridge will have some improvements there. So this is the proposed improvement. These are contour lines. And on the far east side is a smaller sediment forebay where the water flows into the lake from the 270-acre watershed. And then the largest pieces of sediment that contain the most phosphorus and other organic matter will settle out in this area, which is easily accessible from the road. So your public works crews or contractor would be able to access that and remove that material on a more frequent basis. The area to the west side of the footbridge would be a large sediment forebay that's 9 feet deep below the water level. And that's designed to capture any sediment that gets past the first forebay. So instead of having to drain the entire lake and dredge it, you'll just be cleaning up this one spot in the future. One of the features that Geosyntec recommended to help capture the sediment in this area is a permanent rock berm. And that's, there's a little cross section of it on the bottom right side of this slide. So there will be on the bottom of the lake, they will place this rock material and that'll stick up just about a 1.5 or 2 feet. And that will capture the sediment and not let it just flow out and down into the lake. Good question.
Where's the berm?
It's around the edge of, it's number 5 on the picture.
I can't see 5.
Yeah, it's hard.
Okay, it's the light gray on the downstream side of the sediment forebay.
You see it?
Oh, yeah,
Okay, that's it.
okay.
I see it.
And then it'll be below the water level?
Correct. It'll be 3 feet below the water level. So if you have a boat with a trolling motor, you're not going to hit that at normal pool elevation. So, but it's a feature that the scientists recommended to help capture sediment and keep it in that area, which is designed to hold sediment for about 10 years.
And number 1 is how deep? Is that
Uh,
also 9?
No, that's not as deep. I think that's only like 4 or 5 feet deep, but it has a shallower spot. So the water will flow in, it'll be a pool of water. And then the larger materials will drop out right there and then be captured in that area.
And how often do you propose that
Uh,
that may need to be cleaned out?
I don't have an exact estimate, but a lot depends on the rains we get and if there's active erosion happening in the upstream watershed. So I think you'll just have to keep an eye on it. It might be every year, every 2 years, but anything that does flow out of that area will go into the larger sediment forebay. So
And how will they be able to tell when it's necessary?
you'll see the sediment build up just like it is today, where it builds up above the water level. Because the water will be in that area at the same level as the lake. And when you start to see sediment build up, or you can see it in the water, it's getting close to the surface of the water, that would be the time to start removing it. So that would be just an opportunity for smaller maintenance more frequently, so it doesn't just build up into a bigger problem later.
You might explain draining down, but letting it dry out.
Oh, sure. The method that we're proposing for the contractor to remove the sediment is to open the drainage valve by the dam and basically drain the lake. And then the water level will go down and then the soil will dry. And they'll use regular earthwork equipment like backhoes and or scrapers and high lifts to load the sediment into dump trucks and haul it off. We think that is a better option than the other, that's called mechanical dredging, which is open to pretty much any earth moving contractor around this part of Missouri, as opposed to hydraulic dredging, which you'd see like in an ocean bay where you have a cutting head on a barge or on the Missouri River, where you're cutting out the soil with a cutting head under the water and it pumps it through a pipe and discharges someplace. And we think that's just more expensive for this operation. and much less competitive with available contractors.
How long does it take to drain and dry before you can get equipment in there?
Probably 4 months. So we do want it to be dry enough that they can drive down there with their equipment. So they'll initially drain the lake and then they'll have some flow paths. So the water that's flowing in might go through a temporary culvert and then flow in a little path down to the outflow pipe. But that's a means and methods for the construction company and how they propose to do that. So,
Thank you.
yes. This picture shows the improvements to the bridge. Your existing wooden bridge is going to have 2 bump outs, about 10 foot by 10 foot bump outs, which can be used. They'll bump out towards the main lake, and they have 2 purposes. One is to allow ADA a passing zone. You're supposed to have a passing zone within every 200 feet to allow 2 wheelchairs to pass on the bridge. So they'll serve for that. And then they'll also be a good fishing platform because the edge of those new bump outs will be right at the water line. So you'll be able to stand there and cast your fishing line into the lake. The construction of the bump outs will be just like the current bridge. That's wood framing with concrete piers. On the south side of the lake, it's pretty rough terrain along the roadside there with West Hale Lake Road. There are some like worn paths where people have been walking along the very edge of the road, but it's not very accessible. And you don't have a good connection between the concrete sidewalks along Pirtle Drive and then the gravel trails that go around the rest of the lake. So the proposal is to create a walkway there. And the idea was to create a floating walkway, which is what this picture shows. We'd have new concrete trails or sidewalks that go down to the floating walkway. It would be ADA accessible. This would be 5 foot wide minimum to allow 2 wheelchairs to pass on the entire length. But it also, we're calling for some bump outs on this as well to make like a little fishing platform. The white highlighted is the sediment forebay on the southeast side of the lake, which again would capture sediment from that portion of the watershed.
It comes in at 2 places. It comes from the across the street from Pirtle Springs, but it also comes from the stormwater coming down Hale Lake Road.
Right. So both of those pipes would be captured into this sediment forebay. And it also has the riprap little berm like the other one to stick up above the bottom of the lake and make sure the sediment goes into the sediment forebay and doesn't just wash on out into the rest of the lake bed.
And will the guess the number is well, I'm looking more at the corner, the very corner south. Is that going to continue to be grass, or is that going to be riprap, or because right now it's grass?
Sure. We're proposing it to stay grass. Right around the very end of the floating walkway, we do have some riprap around there just because there are some steeper grade transitions. But it's just at the immediate end of the floating walkway, not along the whole lake shore.
And the trees that are along the south that are kind of
Sarah, do you
dead?
remember how many trees are being removed? I don't think on the east side, we're going to remove any trees.
The south side.
Right, but on the west side of the floating walkway, I believe there will be some trees that get removed there just to construct the path to meet ADA standards. But you know, it's a park. Preserving trees is an important thing that we're trying to be aware of. But we don't have a whole lot of flexibility on how to, get the walkway in there and have the path come down to it. So
And you'll get to take out some bush honeysuckle at the same time.
absolutely, you'll see a slide. We're gonna take out a lot of that.
Yeah.
I do have one question. How far will the floating bridge, how far above the water line will that be?
So that's a manufactured product, and there'll be several different companies who are competing to bid that. And it
Can
might
you give me
vary
a
a
range?
couple feet. It'll be just like and I got some slides, kind of our inspirational images. Imagine if you go to a marina and you're walking out to the boat slips, it would be like the walkway that goes out to the boat slips, but it'll have handrails. And let's just go to that slide.
Okay.
We imagine it'll be something like this.
Thank you.
We are planning to do some grading at either end of the footbridge to make the lake deeper in those spots. So if there's a dry season and the water level goes down a little bit, the floating walkway will still be floating and not resting on the bottom. So we want to have a uniform slope And that's one of our ideas there. This is a close-up view of it. There'll be concrete retaining walls with a 10-foot by 10-foot landing at either end that the floating walkway will connect to. Again, the floating walkway is about 330 feet long. That's kind of a profile view showing the bottom of the lake. And this is the other side of it. So where is all the sediment going to go after it's removed from the bottom of the lake? And it's going to go to the same place the city used 15 years ago. When the last time the lake was dredged. It's on the west side of the dam. And it's an area that used to be a lagoon system for other infrastructure, which is no longer needed. So that area was filled in before, and we're going to fill it in again. The sediment will be hauled there by trucks. And it's going to be a built-up mound. We're removing 14,000 cubic yards of soil off the bottom of the lake. So it's a large pile of soil, and that's where that area's been overgrown with brush, and all that brush will be removed. But we are trying to save the trees. There are several trees planted along the side of the road there, and those trees will be saved along Southwest Drive. And we're trying to save a screen buffer of the other vegetation, which is really just the brush that's kind of grown up into some bigger trees. But we're trying to screen the big pile of soil from the view of the residents across the street, or drivers driving down, or people walking. So we would have a permanent construction entrance there, because the city crews are planning to take this soil over time and use it in other places. It's going to be good soil for planting stuff in. So it'll be stockpiled by the construction contractor that the city hires, but then over time, the city will use that in other projects. We do have some riprap. Let's go to the next slide. Oh, I'm sorry, I went too far. The stormwater will run off into the channel, the lake outflow channel, which is an unnamed tributary of the creek. We're trying to preserve the trees around the sides. There will be some rock check dams to prevent erosion. We don't want the sediment to wash right back into the creek again. And then we'll plant grass on the whole hillside to stabilize it. But the picture on this slide on the left is an existing view where you've got the big trees we're saving on the right side of the picture. And then kind of back in the middle there is a bunch of brush that's grown up over the last 15 years. So most of that brush will be cleared out to stockpile the soil. And then we're going to plant grass. And that's what we're trying to show in the right side picture, where you'll see less trees and there'll be a hillside of grass there. And just make sure that you're aware of that. So if people ask or are concerned, it's going to be a big pile of dirt for a while, but it's going to have grass growing on it. And then eventually it'll be removed for other projects, or else brush will continue to grow up like it did in the last 15 years. So I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Do you expect, when you drain the lake for it to dry, do you expect the odor to be significant?
I bet it could be if it's really hot out. That's part of it, I'm afraid. So I think you will have some odor issues periodically. But in order to drain the lake, I'm sure it'll be like last time you did it. I don't think it'll be any different than last.
Okay.
What kind of precautions can be taken to preserve some of the wildlife that are going to be, disrupted by the dredging of the lake turtles and
Right.
fish and other?
We asked the scientists about that. I think a lot of them will, the fish in the lake will either go out through the pipe, or else there might be some on the deep end of the lake. The lake might not be completely drained, and they'll be in there in several feet of water. The species of fish, the scientists said they're not endangered or anything, and they would easily be restocked and regrow. So that is a cost of the project, though. I think you're going to have some of the fish will probably die from this process. So
Be good fishing for people who do that if they go to the
right
end of the lake.
Yeah, I think the fishing will be really good in the shallow water for a little while. But you would need to restock the lake and let the fish, reestablish themselves.
Do we know kind of what other species tend to live in the lake other than fish that are going to be disrupted?
The turtles.
Right.
There's a lot of turtles.
We did not specifically study that as part of our project, but I'm sure just, Everything that would normally be in the lake is there, so.
They'll make their way out, hopefully soon. Thank you. And I'm just very, very excited about the ADA improvements to have Lions Lake finally be accessible to folks who use wheelchairs and other mobility devices. It's very exciting, and that is going to, wide enough for two people to be passing each other who use chairs or other devices to get around. It's definitely a lake that everyone in the community should be able to enjoy, and it's very exciting to see that there's going to be more of that. And the floating walkway, again, is going to make that less treacherous. I may or may not have slipped on that, that not quite a pathway when we were out doing the honeysuckle remediation, because I did not have my trail shoes on. I just had my Birkenstocks on. That's on me. But it's very exciting to see that there's going to be more of
Absolutely.
that there.
Yeah, I've walked that south side. It is pretty rough.
Yeah,
So,
it was not the smartest thing I ever did wearing that, but
well, I'd be happy to answer any more questions, or I guess ask for approval, right? That's what-
I got a quick question. I hope it's quick. But it's about the water quality coming off the university, off Lake Sena there. Eutrophication as far as potassium, nitrogen, mostly potassium off fertilizer off the golf course. Is there anything we can do to mitigate that? I mean, with the algae that blooms up and everything, or?
Sure. Well, removing the sediment is gonna help a lot, because the sediment that's in the lake now, has a chemical oxygen demand. And especially when the summer months happen and the lake heats up, that's when your algae blooms can happen. We worked with some golf courses and other projects, and most of the golf courses we work with, they actually use very little chemicals now. So they're much better than they used to be.
Okay.
But any kind of water quality improvement in the watershed will help this lake, whether it's chemical components or just sediment, from erosion. We did not specifically come up with recommendations or study, any kind of watershed improvement as part of this scope. We're just looking at dredging the lake, basically.
Thanks.
What's the approximate time frame?
Right, the plans.
Oh.
So we have the floodplain permit from the city, that's done. We have, the Corps of Engineers has visited the site, and we have their jurisdictional determination, and we've been authorized for a nationwide permit. So all we need to do is tell the Corps of Engineers when we're gonna work, and we can go out to bid very quickly, even next week is what we're talking about.
That next week go out to bid. Then we'll get bids back. We'll open them, and then shortly after, we'll do our comparisons, make sure everything's legitimate, and come back and basically say, we're going to approve this ordinance to use said company to start work.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
thank you.
So we wanted to bring it before we got to that point.
Sure.
If you had any questions or feedback that might
Yeah.
change at the time, but it's ready to go and pretty responsive to the challenges we faced before. So.
Councilperson Jones is around that lake almost every day. I know that.
Every day. Yeah.
That's great. Thank you. Item 7.1. An ordinance authorizing the city of Warrensburg to enter into an intergovernmental agreement with the city of Knobnoster for temporary wastewater testing assistance, presented by Phil.
Welcome to the Phil Show. I'll be up here a couple more times. Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. So a month and a half ago, city of Knobnoster, our neighbors came and they were going through some transitions, and they requested help to perform some testing on their lagoon wastewater system. As in the form, I'm saying that we are going to be provided the samples from Knobnoster, and we're going to run ammonia, E. coli, BOD, whatever they're permitted for, which is most of those things, and then help them get that information to Department of Natural Resources. So the city of Knobnoster is willing to pay for the test we run, and we have no issue with that. We went to Adam and he wrote up an agreement so that we could be covered and make sure everything's legalized and legitimate. The staff recommends that you approve this so that we can help out our friends and neighbors. Any questions?
One question, if I may, when it says temporary, how long are you thinking of?
So we're not quite sure. Nam Nasser really didn't give me a timeline.
Okay.
He was, if you all met the new city manager over there, he's trying to keep his head above water and get things organized, but
Thank
we
you.
were willing to help out.
We did include a provision that the city manager can determine if it should be terminated, just so we don't have to debate the duration. Hopefully, it won't be too intrusive to start with, but then hopefully they'll be able to get things settled in and stand on their own.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Phil? Thank you.
Motion to move to second reading by title?
You.
Okay.
Thank you. Osborne,
Yes.
Latari,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Euler.
Yes.
An ordinance authorizing the city of Warrensburg to enter into an intergovernmental agreement with the city of Knob Noster for temporary wastewater testing assistance. This is for adoption or rejection. Osborne,
Yes.
Latari,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Euler.
Yes.
Thank you.
I do have a question online. Is like, did we need to approve something?
No, it'll come back.
That was just the presentation.
Discussion.
Okay, so you'll come back next.
After we get the bids back and we open them and we do our portion there, we will come back and tell you the price and see if you will approve
Okay.
the city manager
Okay,
to sign the contract.
thank you.
Item 7.2, an ordinance authorizing the mayor and city clerk to execute temporary development agreement with property owners at 300 Grover Street for existing fence in connection with the McGuire Street Improvement Project, presented by Phil.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council members. So y'all have seen the pretty house there at 300 Grover McGuire. It's the corner, the southeast corner. It's got a nice fence right there. The homeowner, David Brian and Miss Sanchez, wanted to make sure that if that fence was damaged, that they could put it back, and if it was damaged, the city would help them make sure that happened. The easement that temporary construction easement that we're wanting is just on the southwest corner of that property and the northwest corner of that property. We don't feel like we're going to have any damage done to this fence, but just to reassure David Brian and Ms. Sanchez, we are willing to go into this agreement as long as you all are okay with it, saying that yes, the city will replace as good or better and make sure that it's okay. So staff recommends that you do approve this.
I think it's an excellent idea. And I did drive by it.
You drove McGuire? It's smoother, isn't it?
It is, it's great.
It is.
It's great.
We're
Getting
getting
there.
Yep. Thanks for doing that.
Motion to move to second reading by title only.
Osborne,
Yes.
Latari.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Euler.
Yes.
An ordinance authorizing the mayor and city clerk to execute temporary development agreement with property owners at 300 Grover Street for existing fence in connection with the McGuire Street Improvement Project. This is for adoption or rejection. Osborne,
Yes.
Latari.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Euler.
Yes.
Thank you.
Item 7.3, an ordinance authorizing the city manager and the city clerk to execute a contract agreement with All Pro Asphalt and Maintenance LLC for the 2025 street maintenance program, hot mix overlay in the city of Warrensburg, Missouri, presented by Phil Adler.
Feels like I've been here before.
Nice to see you again.
It's good seeing you guys. So this is the street maintenance 2025 street maintenance overlay program hot mix. So through the PCI, the pavement condition index, and our street guys driving the roads, getting the feel for it, they proposed a list of streets that we wanted to try and improve overlay for the 2025 season. Jason McCarty did send out the request for bids. And we estimated, Dave, Jason, the Public Works Department estimated that we're gonna use about $614,000. The way we figure this out is we take last year's amount of money that we spent, break it up per mile, and then add about 10% just to make sure that we're gonna get it covered. This year, we had 8 plan holders. They got the information. We had 5 of them given a bid. The lowest bid was All Pro Asphalt and Maintenance. They came in at $377,561. This was well below our projected or our assumption. So we do have some money left over. So we're going to see about asking or getting All Pro to do a little bit more at their price, which would be a great thing. I don't know if you all saw all the roads that were proposed, Pride Avenue, Fairview, Larkin, Grant, Spellman, Sunflower, Mallory,
Warren.
Cheatham, Warren, Fountain Hills, Edgewood, Park Place. The additional ones that we want to try and add on to Hawthorne, Jennings, and Cheatham. So that's the additional ones that we're hoping to get them to do for essentially the price. So this, with you guys approving this ordinance, this will allow us to go ahead and tell All Pro to go ahead and start the job. Take them about 15 days. We'll give them 15 days to get the bond issues, all that back. And then about 10 days after that, hopefully they will start the project. So if we can get it approved.
Have we used All Pro Asphalt before?
We have not. They are a new company to us, but we did reach out to their references. Concordia, I think Odessa, there was one more, Oak Grove. They've done good work for them. We did check on them. We did follow up. We did our homework.
Okay,
So,
very good. Thank you.
any more questions?
Much, Phil.
Motion to move to second reading by title only.
Osborne,
Yes.
Latari,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Euler.
Yes.
An ordinance authorizing the city manager and the city clerk to execute a contract agreement with All Pro Asphalt and Maintenance LLC for the 2025 street maintenance program hot mix overlay in the city of Warrensburg, Missouri. This is for adoption or rejection. Osborne,
Yes.
Latari,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Euler.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Barb.
Item 8, appearances to the council not listed on the agenda. We have 4 people on here. So when I call your name, you'll have 3 minutes just to come up, make your statement. This is not a back and forth anything, but we love for people to speak up at these meetings, and so this is the opportunity. So come up, state your name and your address. First one is Dr. Paul Polychronis.
Thank you.
Hello, everybody. All right, starting right off with the technical problem. I'm Dr. Paul Polychronis of 202 Summer Place in Warrensburg. I appreciate the opportunity to speak. Briefly about me, I'm a board certified psychologist. I'm a practitioner, health services provider. 4% of psychologists are board certified as compared to 80% of physicians who are board certified. So that shows I'm committed to maintaining competence in my profession. It's my understanding there's going to be an all-ages drag show as part of a Pride event, followed by an adults-only drag show. That's similar to movies, with some films being rated as suitable for children to see, other films not intended to be viewed by children. I also understand there's a concern that the drag show or drag performers at the event could groom children for sexual abuse. This is a local manifestation of a national anxiety. I'm just here to say there's no evidence that this actually occurs. I'm going to elaborate here to describe grooming, what it is and how it works. I've worked with many clients of childhood sexual abuse, and many of whom were groomed in that process. Grooming is an ongoing relationship in which the child is either dependent or the child trusts the adult or both. It's a relationship that can take weeks, months, even years. Over that course of time, the groomer in the grooming slowly starts to cross the child's boundaries, and until the point arrives where the sexual abuse starts occurring. So the groomer or the sexual abuser is someone the child knows and has a relationship with. The typical groomers in childhood sexual abuse are a friend of the family, an authority figure. I mean, we see that the Catholic Church has had trouble with this. They're trying to do something about it. Other typical groomers are relatives from extended family, other family members, and in the case of incest, one of the parents of the child. The Crimes Against Children Research Center reports that 20% of women, 1 out of 5, have been sexually abused as children. 1 out of 5. 5% of men have been sexually abused as children. So childhood sexual abuse is indeed a serious problem.
Thank you, Dr. Polychronis. That's your 3 minutes.
Oh, wow, I used the 3 minutes up.
Thank you.
Yeah,
All right.
thank you.
Thank you very much.
Wendy Chaplin, please.
Good evening. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak. Wendy Chapman, 411 West Gay Street.
Thank you.
I would like to ask the city to please consider a disposal location for the town people to be able to dispose of our large yard debris, example, large tree limbs, sticks, large volumes of leaves. I do realize under the new sanitation company, we are allowed to brown bag our leaves, stack, cut, and twine. And I think it's and I may have the measurements wrong, but something by like 3 foot by 2 foot sticks and leaves, and you're supposed to twine it. We have a large yard with lots of trees, and we have pickup loads of leaves, limbs, branches, and sticks. It would take us a mass amount of time, which we do not have, we're very busy as everyone else is, to saw, cut, measure, and twine to their measurements. We also have several pickup loads of leaves, and we would like to be able to reuse our brown bags. You have to set the brown bags out and they take them. We've reused ours for several years, and I'm talking mass amounts and pickup loads of leaves, especially in the fall. The city used to offer the town the dumpster off Pine Street, which was always full because very well used. And sometimes the land by the soccer field, which is the west of town. And I'm asking if you could please reconsider for the town people who have large yard debris to reopen those, a dumpster or the land by the soccer field. And possibly the fire department could use it when it's time to burn that off, they could use that as training, and maybe they did that in the past. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Atsuki Mori. Hello.
My name is Atsuki Mori. I live in the 503 Swallow Street. I am the nurse, but I have 7 years of experience with the mental psychiatric, the health back in Japan. So that my client was the people who has mental disease, inpatient, outpatient with depression or suicidal ideation. So June will be the Pride Month, and we are going to have a Pride festival. So I would like to share my the opinion about it. So Trevor project, there's this a project that to help with the younger generation of LGBTQ plus individuals, and they do the survey every year, and 39% of LGBTQIA individuals, youth, seriously consider to commit suicide in past year, and then 12% of them really did attempt to suicide. And this is as the research said the community that has a protective factor of this preventing suicide is the acceptance from family, community, friends. So now the recent number of LGBTQIA individuals, 9.3% of adults. That means 9 people in 100, almost 1 in 10 people are LGBTQIA individuals. So they're not coming out to tell us they're LGBTQIA, but our neighbors are probably a group of people. So inclusivity, having the Pride events, it's really helping our youth. And our youth in our community is a treasure, like without their health, mental health, we will not have successful community. So I appreciate city to continuously supporting, not preventing to have events in the past years, that I would like you to keep continue that way. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Zachary Wilson.
Hello. Give me a little bit of
What's your address?
my address is 136 Southwest Highway 13 here in town.
Okay, thank you.
I am just on the south end. I am from Warsaw. I've actually never been to a town hearing or anything. So but I'm from Warsaw. I moved here last May, and I was told there might be some people here that might come and talk to complain about the Pride Parade or the drag show, and I didn't want there just to be negative voices, and I wanted to add my voice to support. I'm an ex-libertarian. I'm independent now, but I do still hold if my rights aren't if someone's doing something that isn't stamping on your rights, then why should they be allowed? I kind of use that as like a guiding idea, but not like an absolute. So, and while some people might complain about the Pride Parade, the Constitution talks about that we are, as Americans, as people, we're supposed to have life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And I just think that the Pride Parade and events related to it are good. And I think they should be allowed. And that's all I really wanted to say.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any miscellaneous matters from city council? Okay. City manager report.
And good evening. Just have a handful of things. Since we last met, myself and the assistant city manager, Kristen, attended the MCMA conference in Lake the Ozarks. Good for me to come back and see a handful of people that are still left in Missouri city management since I left. As I think you're aware, myself, Barb Carroll, and Councilwoman Jones met with the residents of the 500 Franklin neighborhood, had a conversation with them last Thursday, kind of walked them through the issues surrounding the zoning and the interplay of industrial zoning in a residential neighborhood and what was permitted and what wasn't. And it was a difficult conversation and everyone was civil, but it wasn't exactly the message you might want to hear. But we then did discuss a number of items and concerns that they have that may merit follow-up. So I'm in ongoing conversations with the property owner, and we'll be providing feedback to the neighbors. We coordinate with legal counsel as some issues may merit. Looking at agenda items for the upcoming meeting, don't see a need for a special meeting to make up for missing meeting on Memorial Day. So that'll be the holiday will be observed on Monday, and then don't see the need to have a special meeting on Tuesday. And then lastly, I'm planning on taking a couple of days off the week prior to Thursday and Friday, and then I'll be back on Monday as a guest speaker at the American Legion Memorial Day event, attending the Gay Pride event to observe firsthand. So with that, I know there's other things going on. We're in active conversations with Evergy and Burns and Mac about the wire, but once again, I'll let Bill share those details with you. Everything else is moving along.
Appreciate Councilperson Jones and City Manager for meeting with the residents over there. And I know we're working on something, so maybe in the future this won't happen again, or.
Yeah, and Barb was instrumental in helping to provide the stream and provide an explanation. We've had conversations about fill ordinance or clean fill. There's some policy discussion back to you. And I did tell the residents in the neighborhood, in my estimation, the root of the conflict is the adjoining industrial zoning, right, or residential zoning. There's plenty of places more often than not where fill is desired and is helpful for development of the property in the community. That's just a really challenged location in particular.
Okay, I appreciate Barb and Adam's looking into this for quite some time, so.
I would encourage anybody that has not driven by that to make a point of going by and looking. And look from either Jefferson or Hamilton Street so that you can look down into the area that used to be a meadow full of deer and wildlife, and it is now a concrete pile of crap. That's at least 2 stories high.
If you look at it from Franklin, it's a level. If you look at it from the side streets, it's
You can really
two-story
see.
elevation change.
And I'm sure if you pulled into one of someone's driveway and got out of your car and walked down there, if they wondered what you were doing, all they do is see, they would be happy that you're going down there to actually see how awful this is. It just keeps getting bigger. Thank you.
Item 10.1, City Staff Update, Administrative Services Department.
The only thing that I have tonight is I just wanted to make sure that the shout out on the work for the audit should all go to Caroline. He kind of kept looking at us, but that credit goes there. And I just, one of their findings was about the bank reconciliations, and I just really want to give her the credit that she came in and had to reconcile over a year of the bank statements. Which was really difficult work and took her a lot of time and effort as a brand new employee with a finance department that's had a lot of turnover. So I just wanted to make sure that we recognized her effort there.
Thank you, Carol.
Thank you.
Thank you for doing that. And if I had a proclamation, I'd give it to you.
Right.
Thanks. City Staff Update, City Clerk.
Oh, thank you, Mayor and Council. The staff report is in your packet. Just the highlights. I have worked on quite a few proclamation requests. I'll be happy to add one for Caroline next time we meet. A lot of information requests right now, helping with notarial, being the notary for these easements for McGuire, but City Hall is, it's all I can do. You all are doing the tough street work. So anyway, that's all I've really got day to day. A lot, very busy right now at City Hall. So thank
And
you.
we very much appreciate all the postings. They've been real helpful. on the internet about street closures and information, and it's been a big help, and appreciate that work too. Thanks. City staff update, community development.
Our activity report for community developments in the packet, but I'd also point out we have started to include our monthly numbers on solid waste. In addition to providing the tonnage reports, which we get for the previous month on the first of the month. So we have a March report and an April report so far in the packet. We're also providing you the first of the month house count that we provide to constable. So you can start to see a trend there with the number of units that we're servicing for the base service, which includes the weekly trash, weekly recycling, weekly yard waste, and monthly bulk item. And then you can see our numbers for the hardship service as well. The extra trash cart and the extra recycling cart, which we're holding solid at one extra recycling cart so far across all months. So if at any point you have questions about that, please let me know.
I did, just as a reminder, can you please remind me, is there a set number that we set aside for folks to make that request to have the hardship service? Or is it kind of anyone who is able to provide a documented disability?
It's like if you can provide, there is like an age, is that what you mean by set number?
As far as how many households we budgeted for is how I should have said.
We were estimating we might have as many as around 300.
Okay.
So we're holding pretty level at this 100 number right now.
Okay.
But yeah, there's room for that to grow if
Okay.
people have a need.
Thank you.
On the bulk waste that we get the third pickup, is there a lot of bulk waste that's being put out? I had a hard time finding.
465 items put out in April.
Where am I not seeing that? Oh, thank you.
I can't remember how he characterized that. It was more than one of the communities he serves and not as much as another. So I'll be curious to see what that number looks like in May.
And if it
And
goes
again
down
in
over
August.
time, or if it goes up over time.
And
Yeah.
people may have saved up.
No, we just have a lot of move outs in May,
Oh,
and then we'll have a lot of move outs into July, beginning of August. We have a lot of move in, move out, and again in December. So those are the months I'd expect to see that number be the highest.
okay.
But that's a hard one to estimate. I think we'll just have to see what the trend is over the first year.
A lot of the stuff that's put out during that period of time when the students are leaving, it is furniture. Do we have any usable furniture? I'm not talking bedding, but dressers and that kind of thing. Do we have any charitable organizations that pick that up that can be?
Bill Hubbard's group, somebody told me he's running a store.
Oh, Standing in the Gap.
Street.
Oh, Hubbard, Joe and Tara Hubbard, they
Mhm.
have the. What is it?
Standing in the Gap. Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
Standing in the
that
Gap.
they, with their store on Pine Street now, have an interest in some of that. If people want to contact them directly, that might be an opportunity there.
Thank you.
And there's, a place in Kansas City called Restore that
Hmm.
would be great if we had something like that, but you can take items up there for repair and mostly retired people to fix chairs and tables and everything. Anything else?
No, that's
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
City staff update, fire department, Chief Jennings.
April activity reports in the packet. Additional, any questions?
Get out of that one quick. City staff update, Parks and Recreation Department, Chris.
That's, the pools are filled and we're already ready to go. Saturday before Memorial, so we're opening, so.
Good deal.
Good, thank you. City staff update, Police Department, Chief Munsterman.
Evening, Mayor, council. Just informing you, we've done 2 conditional offers to 2 individuals. One's from out of state. Done something a little different. The last 2 that the last one we hired, Dale Bernard, he actually came from Alaska, and we had to do a virtual interview on him. This individual that we just offered a conditional to last week was actually out of state as well. Thought that was interesting running that process, doing your final conditional offer via over the internet and over the camera system. They still got to go through the background and all that process. So a lot to go yet, but those 2 would start in July if they make it through everything. We had 5 conditionals out. 3 have been beaten out of the process. We're interviewing another one tomorrow for a final interview. So we just keep plugging along, trying to get people hired and in the door. We just promoted Lane Miller. He was here tonight. He's taken Sergeant Clayton Townsend's place. He was a night shift corporal, and Lane went through the process, and he was promoted to corporal. Lane's father is actually Kevin Miller, and he's chief of police down in Clinton, Missouri. So he's been chief down there for probably 15 years. So that's all I have. Any questions?
It's good news. Got more people coming on for now.
We'll just keep moving along. Thanks. Have a great evening.
Thanks, Chief.
With the incident that happened in Kansas City, with I guess it was the ambulance attendant that was stabbed to death. Is there a need for emergency services to pat down patients? I mean, or wear vests? How do we prevent something like that from happening?
So it's a good question. It's difficult to prevent. I can't speak for the ambulance district. I do know that Fire Chief Jennings is putting vests, I believe, on all your fire trucks for certain responses. So we have taken some precautions in regarding to that. I don't work for the ambulance district. I do know that we do have some of their people on our SWAT team that do have vests and stuff as well. So they might have them options on their trucks as well. But as far as them putting their hands on patients, you're talking, that's crossing the line. That's police work. So if there's question, or you have individuals that are questionable, that's when you call the police department, and we handle it from that scenario. We go to a lot of those calls as well, though, when they're having issues with patients. So.
Do you know if that individual was, if there were any warning signs?
I believe that, don't quote me, but I believe that individual had some mental crisis that morning, but that's been through 2 weeks now since I read some of that. So
okay,
I don't know any more than what was in the paper.
Okay.
So.
Thank you.
Yep.
Item 10.7, city staff update, public works. Phil, you again? I thought you gave us everything you had. All right.
All right, so as I mentioned earlier, hopefully y'all like McGuire. It's a lot smoother right now. It's still just temporary, but it is smoother. So
Definitely.
very happy that Capital was able to come in and use hot mix on a lot of their patches. There are some other patches that were still, bumpy, but doing well there. Sewer's all done, still working on water, gas. Those companies are still out there working. Hopefully they're wrapping up hopefully water will be wrapping up within the next couple weeks. Gas will be there still probably a month or more. But by the time that they move north, hopefully we're going to start working on driveways, curb, guttering. Right now, Capital or Richter is putting in stormwater. I think they're over by Colton, or not Colton. Yeah, Colton Street, right? And they're working that, so hopefully we'll get more done there. Joe working easements. I think he's down to 4. I think so. He's really knocking them out. Anytime you see him, tell him he's doing a great job. You might laugh, but tell him he's doing a great job. He's doing really well. Let's see, as Mike mentioned earlier, we are going to be talking with Evergy. Evergy, I believe, is almost ready to start moving poles back behind sidewalk area. So, you know, we just got to wait for a couple more easements, then we'll give them the go ahead to start that, and that'll be nice. One more thing off our list. And then hopefully in June, first week of June, we'll start with, well, really that's the driveways. And found out today that the actual digging up of the road and relaying will probably happen around August timeframe, September. So we'll still have a little bit of the temporary bumpiness, but it is a lot smoother.
Which end are they starting on?
They will start down on Broad is
And
what
move
we're proposing, and then they'll move north. Now, the road, McGuire, will be shut off in sections and you'll have to detour. But it won't be the full detour from Business 50 all the way down to Railroad. It'll be, hey, you just gotta go around, you know, Grover, you'll hit south up to Railroad.
By
So-
using your signal.
Well,
Correct.
So I can't mandate people use their. So that's. I can't. I don't mind with us. That's pretty much all the I mean, there's lots of other little things on McGuire that we're working through, but it's the high level.
You know, the one thing I would add is with staff and capital's coordination, they cleared the roadway. It was two-way for graduation.
Yes, over graduation.
So we're identifying key other dates and planning around this as well.
Yes. So we're trying to work with UCM and make sure everything's happening best for them to help us. For the plant expansions and SCADA, we're still working on SCADA. That's going well. The plant expansions, all the long lead items, I believe, have been ordered and are, you know, hopefully going to be on their way soon. They haven't moved dirt yet, but I'm pretty sure that a lot of the equipment's on its way to get started on the plant expansion. Yes.
Is there a lot of equipment that's coming from
Well, there'll be.
China or
Oh, no.
it's
So
all,
the
it's all
flight-
US?
So don't let me get too much in the weeds. The Innovair blowers are made in Kansas City, Olathe area.
Okay.
And so they're United States made. That's why we bought from them, is because it's just an hour and 12 minutes. If we have issues, easy. It's American made, good quality. We wanted that. The flight pumps are a German made pump.
Oh.
They last a good amount of time.
They
We
still
had
last.
them in the facilities. Some of the pumps last 10+ years. We don't have to have them maintained. So those items are major items. The SBR equipment, the piping and things like that. I'm not 100% sure where that one's coming from, but it's also an American company that was the design of the SBR. So for sure. American. The UV is Trojan and it's a Canada company. So there might be little tariffs on that, but
I think they still like us, okay,
yeah.
not as much, but
Yeah, there was talk of the flight pump having more tariffs on it than the UV Trojan or anything else. So because it's got a longer way to go, UK. But now that tariffs, I'm not political, I have no clue on all of that. But we were told that there might be a little bump in price on that, but I think they said about $10,000 to $20,000, somewhere in that range for that. So within the budget, because it's a guaranteed maximum price.
okay.
So we were good to go with that. Yeah, what else is there? That's, I mean, regular day-to-day operations. The street department's out there doing crack fill and potholes, and they'll start getting ready to, after Memorial Day, they will start doing some bigger patches so that they can get the roads ready for the overlay.
Okay.
So, Terry was going to try and get the new jet truck up here. but I didn't see him out there. He wasn't outside.
You realize we were talking about today.
Yeah, he said the 12th, but he must have forgot. He got busy. So it is in, it is running. We're good. We do have I don't know if anybody's been over at Jackson and Claiborne. There was a sewer pipe that had damage. We had to replace that. So we had to contract a contractor to come out and dig it up, but they got that. I think they're finished with it. It was last week. So, any questions?
Keep up the good work. Thanks.
Thank you, Phil.
Thank you.
I'm done.
Looks like there's one person left on here. Warrensburg Convention and Visitors Bureau.
Okay. Good news.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'd like to give you just kind of a recap of what we've got going on, a little bit of this and a little bit of that. Thank you so much for the proclamation recognizing last week as National Travel and Tourism Week. We had events throughout the week. We had a great event on Wednesday. Chairman Pro Tem Eddie Osborne came and read the proclamation. While we were there, we had members from the WCVB board. We had an ambassador, which is our volunteer program. We also had Alex Schroeder, who is MoDOT's administrator of railroad. He attended as well. And during that time, we were able to hand out goodie bags to the staff for Amtrak, the 318 train. And then we also came back that afternoon and handed it out to the staff for the 311 train. Great event. Thank you so much for coming, and thank you so much for the proclamation. We handed out goodies to all of our hotels. We purchased from Rise cinnamon rolls, and we took it to all of our hotels in recognition for their frontline staff, because we may never come in contact with our visitors, and we know that. But the frontline staff at our hotels and our restaurants and our retail, well, they're the ones that are making it happen. And we want to recognize them and thank them. And I was talking to the board during our meeting on Thursday. We're going to do this not only this week, but we're going to do it throughout the year, because we need to recognize them and just remind them how much we appreciate them. We ended the week as Saturday morning at the farmer's market. Ollie is the mascot for the Missouri River Runner. Ollie was a hit. We took a lot of pictures. And we handed out stickers and buttons, and Senator Pierce helped us make that connection with Amtrak, and he was able to bring those to us from Jeff City. So we're really excited, and thank you so much. Also, during last week, we had Missouri American Water. They had their board meeting here in Warrensburg. And I tell everybody, I said, we work to get groups here. We work to get events and those kind of things. We worked with them starting in January, providing them event venues, caterers, you name it. We were reaching out to them, helping them along the way to get that event plan. They used 3 restaurants, they used 1 hotel, and they used an event venue that helped out all of those along the way. And we made sure we had goodie bags welcoming them with a welcome note from me in each one of their hotel rooms. When they came in, they got into their room and they had that welcoming them with an extra chocolate chip cookie. So it went a long way. We're excited this week. I hope you've seen on Facebook, UCM Baseball met with UCM athletic staff today. We're going to make sure those officials, those coaches, and those spectators for the NCAA Division II Central Region tournament are welcomed. So we'll be providing them information about all the great things we have in Warrensburg, from our restaurants to when there's downtime. There's a lot of trails, our awesome parks department. The weather's going to be absolutely perfect for them, and our information as well. Just to note, the Visitor Center from Memorial Day to Labor Day will be open on Saturdays to coincide with the farmers market. We'll be open from 9 to noon, and we'll be promoting that on social media, and we've already provided a graphic for the chamber for their upcoming flash. Grants, last council meeting when I presented, I talked to you about the board had allowed me to apply for 2 grants. They're state grants, the one to help redesign visitwarrensburg.com. And also our marketing matching grant, which was for $65,000. The website was for $10,000 and the marketing matching grant was for $65,000. We have been notified we have received both of those grants.
Oh, congratulations.
I talk about grants a lot, so I appreciate your all's patience with me. We're very excited. The website right now we're working with McDaniel's Marketing. Our grants are state grants, so they run July through June 30th. So we'll start working on that kind of, and behind the scenes, we're getting ready. We're doing our part. So July 1, they're ready to go with all of our information. We're going to launch February. We're also going to have a new visitor guide. We're going to have a new website. We're going to have our campaign. So 26, look out. We're going to have all of our information out there. And then also our marketing matching grant as well. Any questions?
Good
Thank
job.
you.
No, thanks, Marcy.
Item 11.1, closed session. Motion to close part of this meeting pursuant to section 610.021 of the revised statutes of Missouri relating to 1, legal actions, causes of action, or litigation involving a public governmental body and any confidential or privileged communications between a public governmental body or its representatives and its attorneys.
I will move.
Osborne, Latari,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Euler.
Yes.
Thank you.